I'm Marianne Domain. More than 400,000 public sector workers are on strike in Quebec, and they say they won't return to their jobs for a week. Workers, including teachers, education support staff, and lab technicians, belong to a group of unions pushing for better pay and working conditions. Because of the strike, all public schools are closed in the province. Essential services like emergency rooms will be maintained, but delays are expected in healthcare facilities. 80,000 nurses and other healthcare workers plan to start a 4-day strike on Monday. For her perspective, we're joined by Tina Chapman. She's a single mother of a 12-year-old autistic boy. She's in Lakefield, Quebec. So, Tina, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us this morning. I know it is a busy and stressful time for you right now, but let's talk about this teacher strike and just how hard it is on parents like you. How has it been specifically for you and your son?
Good morning, and thank you for speaking with me as well. For my son, it's a very pivotal year for him. He is going to be in high school next year, so trying to transition from his elementary school to the high school and setting up those meetings has been exceptionally hard. I try to set them up, but of course, I am fully behind the staff and the teachers with this strike. Unfortunately, Legault just refuses to listen to them and what their working conditions are like, and that trickles down to my son and how he is learning in class. And unfortunately, with the lack of training, the lack of staff, the lack of equipment that they give to the schools, it makes it harder for him to learn.
I know so many challenges even before this strike started that you were already dealing with, only now made harder because of what is happening with the strike. But let's talk about what kind of supports your son Blake was getting before this even began.
Before this began, I had to fight. He was only given about 8 hours of aid help per week. So I had to get loud. I had to get extremely loud privately. I had to get extremely loud publicly just to get the school the sufficient hours that he needed. And at the end of it, after a year-long fighting in the public, he ended up with full-time 1-to-1 8 hours, which is unheard of in the public system. And he's had that for the last about 5 or 6 years now, and only in the last 2 years have I agreed to scale it back so that other students who are coming into the system could also have the 8 hours and benefit from them as well. So he's thrived in the last 2 years because of what he had. And now he is able to function a little bit on his own in class thanks to those 8 hours previous in the years. And right now, Legault wants to take that away.
And so, of course, there's concerns about what this could potentially mean for progress. We know, as you've been talking about, the challenges for you and your son Blake, but what are you also hearing from other parents of special need kids and students and what their concerns are right now?
They don't know how to navigate the system. They don't know where to turn or who to email, who to call, who to talk to get things put in place, because they come into the system and they're told they can only get 10 hours, no more, no less. But if they speak to me and then they find out that for years my son had a full-time 1-to-1 aide, and they're told that that's not possible, it doesn't exist. I'm living proof that it does exist because I fought for it and I got it. And now these parents who are coming into the system are looking at it that everything's going to be taken away from them. The codes that they had to fight for their kids to get special needs services are now going to be taken away from them, or the staff is not there to help them, or staff is just burning out. So unfortunately, the kids in the end pay the price.
Yeah, and all while the staff continue to walk the picket lines, you did mention Premier Francois Legault. Obviously, there are concerns on both sides, but how hopeful are you that they'll find a resolution soon?
I'm not hopeful. Just on my history with this administration, I'm not hopeful at all, sadly, because he has said to the unions right now that he is promising to hire 4,000 new aides and special needs staff. I'm calling him out on that because just 4 years ago, he promised to hire 800 of them. And a year ago, he came out saying, it's not possible, we cannot do it. But now the math isn't mathing, Mr. Legault. You can't promise 5 times more when you couldn't even deliver your original.
So, I know that you and many families will be keeping a close eye on exactly how this all unfolds. Of course, with the concerns about what this will mean for the progress of your children, particularly for you, Tina, and your son, Blake. I want to thank you so much for talking to us this morning and taking the time to share your insights on all of this. That's Tina Chapman in Lakefield, Quebec. Thanks for joining us. You're watching CBC News Network. We'll be right back.